Coming up on Colonial Sports Center, the football team traveled to East Tennessee State during their homecoming. How would they fare? You have to tune in. You have to stay tuned to find out.
And the women's hockey team is off to a fast start this season, having 2 games over the weekend. You'll see tonight how they did.
All coming up next on Colonial Sports Center. Welcome back to another great episode of Colonial Sports Center. As usual, I'm Greg Sutton, alongside me, David the Statsman Szymanski. David, how are we going to start off the night tonight?
Tonight we're going to be talking about the football team, and later in the show we're going to have Sam Anthony sit down with Ray Butter to discuss his role as the equipment manager with Robert Morris' football team.
So what you're telling everybody out there is that tonight's going to be another great episode for them.
Absolutely. So we'll start right off with the football team. And the football team last week had their bye. There was no Colonial football. This off week gave the team a chance to get rested, especially standout quarterback Jimmy Walker, who missed the previous game due to a concussion. They were back in action this past weekend against East Tennessee as they had their homecoming. And Robert Morris was their date. Let's see if they could tango. And here we'll get into action with quarterback Austin Henrik. Throwing the ball downfield, takes a big hit, but they'll catch the ball over midfield, and they'll take it up to the 35. And here we're going to get to see their first points of the game. It's good. 3-0. And into the second quarter we go. East Tennessee State is trying to stop the Colonials, but Jimmy Walker on a play-action pass right across midfield, and wow! Woo!
Watch out, train it coming!
And we're going to get to see another train right here with another big hit on the Colonials. East Tennessee dominating up front early.
They must be close to a train junction or something, David.
They have to be. And here's Henrik rolling out, and that's going to be East Tennessee State's only touchdown of the game, and the only touchdown of the game for either team. And Henrik's rolling out here, and they're going to get the pass down to the 15, setting up another easy kick for their kicker, J.J. German. He was 3 for 6 on the night, but he will be the leading scorer in the game with 9 points total. East Tennessee will continue here up 13-0 with a terrific catch down the sideline, setting up what will be nearly a PAT, but it'll be worth 3 as it is a field goal. 16-0, and in the fourth quarter, we're going to see the Colonials with their last-ditch effort. You saw that they got a field goal, but here Jimmy Walker's going to fumble on 4th and 15. They'll pick up the ball, and that will end the game. East Tennessee has a good homecoming as they'll win the game 16-3. And here we're going to get to see the stats. Jimmy Walker threw the ball 36 times for 183 yards. And Harrison Dreyer had 15 attempts rushing the ball and ran for 66 yards. Decent offensive production, but they were not able to get points on the board to beat the Buccaneers.
And a disappointing loss for them, David, going on the road like that after a bye week and jumping back into action to a loss on the road game. But so the women's hockey team traveled to Mankato, Minnesota to face off against the Minnesota State University Mavericks. The Colonials came into the match with an exhibition game win against Ryerson Rams by a score of 4-1. RMU was hoping to walk out of their first game of the season with another win under their belt and picking up where they left off last season. This would be the first of the 2-game series between the two teams. And now we're going to jump right into the highlights. The first thing we're going to see here is Minnesota driving down the ice, and a great save there by Elijah Milton-Price, the goalie for the RMU Colonials. She just trapped it right there in the middle of the Colonial logo there on her chest for a good save to keep the game even at 0. Now we're going to see Minnesota marching down the ice again, and another great save by Milton-Price. She tore it up in that first period, keeping the Colonials in it on those 2 odd-man breaks with those 2 great saves early in the first period.
She did. If you get down 1-0, it's tough to come back, so big save certainly.
Oh, absolutely. And now we're going to see Kristen Welsh drive up, or Sarah Cavalier will drive up past Kristen Walsh, and she'll score on that to put the Colonials up 1-0 late, very late in the second period with 12.8 left on the clock.
That's great. 1-1, heading into the third, all tied up. It's got to feel good at the end of the second there to get
especially
that goal.
tickling the twine to put the first put the first points on the scoreboard. And here we get to see it again, right over the glove hand of the goalie for the Minnesota Mavericks. And now this time we're going to see the Colonials charge down ice, and this time it's going to be a shot blocked. And she's going to try a backhand. It'll be blocked again, but she'll get it on the rebound and score it. Now that would be Brittany Howard with an unassisted goal in overtime to win it with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the period.
Wow, is she good.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about her actually later in the show. But here we get to see how consistent and dedicated she is to scoring every goal that she has set in front of her. So, after a hard-fought overtime period, Brittany Howard scored the game-winning goal in overtime, boosting the Colonials over the Mavericks 2-1. Howard finished the night with 4 shots on goal and 1 tickled the twine. Kristen Wells also found the back of the net. The Colonials would play the Mavericks again the next day.
Last week, we got to see the men's hockey team on the ice in an exhibition. But when they traveled to Niagara this past Friday, it was no exhibition. Hockey season has begun, and it may be the best time of the year to be a Colonial sports fan. To the ice we go to see how the team began the year. So we're going to see in these highlights, the Colonials are going to be in blue. They're going to possess the puck here, and Niagara is in white. And Brady Ferguson is going to end this game with 2 goals. We're going to get to see one of them right here. And, you know, it's great to see him, Greg, early in the season contributing already after such a great year last year and him being the assistant captain.
Absolutely. It's amazing to see a player pick up from where they left off, continue their success over the offseason. Absolutely.
And what a goal there. They're in front of a crowd that's just over 1,000 people. So it's got to be exciting starting the year, not only for Niagara, but also the Colonials. And here, we're going to pick it up in the 3rd period where the Colonials are possessing the puck, and they're going to get it right out in front. And I want you to watch this, Greg, how long the Colonials are able to play for this rebound. When you keep the puck in play like this, there's not much the other team can do. Look at that. There's the goal. Alex Tonge.
The goalie had no clue where that rebound went. That's kind of a bad thing for him because as a goalie, you're supposed to know where every puck is at all times.
Right, and our players were in the right place at the right time. And here we're going to get to see the Colonials again. And what a goal that was.
I think that's probably one of the sharpest angles I've ever seen for a goal in hockey, whether that be professional and or at collegiate level.
Right, and now that's a tie game, so we're going to head into overtime. And this is going to be a tough defeat for the Colonials, as we're going to see Niagara here with the goal. They're going to get to play them again January 9th. Now, one stat from this game that I have to mention is RMU had 11.5 minutes of power plays, and Niagara only had 2 minutes and 46 seconds. How did the Colonials not end up with more goals?
I have no clue, David. But the Colonials fell to the feet of the Purple Eagles 4-3, despite the efforts of Brady Ferguson, who scored 2 goals and had an assist, and Alex Tonge, who had also parted a Gino. The Colonials start of their season 0-1. But when we come back after the break, Logan Carney is going to join us up here on the set, and we're going to talk about the upcoming football game between the Colonials and the Duquesne Dukes, and what role that's going to play in the rest of the season. And later in the show, Sam Anthony also got to sit down with head equipment manager Ray Butters for a kind of like a story about his career here at Robin Morris.
Yeah, you won't want to miss any of that, so make sure that you stay tuned, and we'll see you after the break.
Want to help in the aftermath of a hurricane? Together, you and I can really help. I am fast and versatile. I can be whatever is needed to help you provide important relief when it's most critical. If you want to lend a hand, I can help you reach out and truly touch lives. Even a small donation can make a big difference.
On November 3rd in Hopwood Auditorium, Robert Morris University, join me, Don Luisi, for Bringing the Blues to RMU. This is a live event featuring Pittsburgh's Queen of the Blues, Jill West, and Blues Attack. Along with a screening of Blues Chronicles from the Berg, 3 short documentary profiles of Pittsburgh blues legends Eugene Morgan, Bill Weiner, and Jill West. This tribute to the blues is sponsored by the Blues Society of Western Pennsylvania, the Academic Media Center, and RMU Radio. That's Bringing the Blues to RMU, Friday, November 3rd at 5 p.m., Hopwood Auditorium, Robert Morris University. Admission is free to the public.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can, take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back. We are now sitting down with our football correspondent, Logan Carney. David, Logan, and I are about to talk about the upcoming football game between Robert Morris and Duquesne. Now, Logan, first off, we'd like to thank you for coming in today.
Of course.
We really appreciate it. Dave, you want to start them off with some questions?
I do. So Robert Morris was 2-3 in non-conference play. They had one big win over Dayton. What can we expect when they play Duquesne this weekend?
Well, it's going to be a difficult game. Now, they've already faced two very good teams. They faced Youngstown State and North Dakota State, who are better than Duquesne, and they got blown out. Duquesne hasn't really been tested that much so far in their schedule, but they're still 4-1. They have the best record in the NEC. And if there's a game that needs, where Robert Morris needs to win to, say, hey, we can contend this year, we're back in this, it's going to be this game. Because Duquesne is probably the best team in the NEC right now.
So as we look at this full screen graphic we just had up, we see that Robert Morris only has 214 yards per game. What can they do as a team to improve upon that number to hopefully get the win over Duquesne this weekend?
Well, a lot of those numbers, I mean, they face Youngstown State, they face North Dakota State. Those are two insanely good teams, and they got shut out. They got shut out by both of them. So they're not going to face opponents of that quality. Duquesne's defense, it's good. It's third in the NEC in scoring defense, but it's not Youngstown State. It's not North Dakota State. Quarterback, and they have a much better passing attack than they did last year. The run game is still there. It hasn't shown up most recently in the past couple of games, but it's still there. I think if they're going to improve, they would have to rely more on the passing attack, because Jimmy Walker, even his stats haven't been perfect. He is a good quarterback, I would say.
Yeah, I agree, Logan. I think that they've got the pieces in there, the playmakers. But something that concerned me with last game was they allowed 8 sacks. It's tough to getting offense going when you allow that many sacks. How do you think they'll address that heading into the game against Duquesne?
Well, that's going to be a difficult thing. Duquesne's third best defense in the NEC for scoring-wise.
Jimmy Walker maybe
honestly,
to get out.
That was the problem they had last year. And if they do allow, you're not going to beat Duquesne if you have 8 sacks. If you're going to beat Duquesne, your defense, they can limit Duquesne. They can. Duquesne has a great offense, a great passing attack, but Rob Morris also has a great defense. All right, they can limit Duquesne, but if they don't put up 20 points, then they're not going to win the game. And if they get sacked 8 times, they're not going to put up 20 points. So I can't really say how they're going to do it, because the offensive line had these problems last year. I don't know if they necessarily have the talent on the offensive line, but they are definitely going to have to play better if they're going to compete against a team like Duquesne.
Right. All right, Logan, thank you for coming on. We appreciate all the information you just laid down for us.
Yeah, you guys will not want to miss that game this weekend. Earlier in the show, we saw the Colonials beat Mankato in overtime. If you were hoping for more after that great game, we've got you covered, as this was a two-game series over the weekend. The Colonials would not need overtime to close out this game. To the ice we go to watch the 2 games. And in this highlight, we're going to have something special here. It's going to be a counter, because 2 players on the Robert Morris Colonials had hat tricks. Here's Amber Renee, who has a hat trick, 3 shots, 3 goals. Last season, she only had 9 goals, so she's already a third of the way there. Incredible play early on, huh, Greg?
Oh my! That puck bounced around more than a pinball machine.
It was unbelievable, but it counted, and it's a good goal. And that goal was credited to Amber Renee, just like this one was, and that's her 3rd goal. And last season, she had 24 points, already well on her way to that this season. Look for her to continue to contribute. And we're going to pick up here later in the game where you see Robert Morris with 6 goals. So in just a few moments, we're going to jump back and figure out how they got to that mark. And it's going to be from Brittany Howard, who also had a hat trick. So we're about to pick up there, and we're going to have the ticker. What do you think of her play this season, Greg?
Well, so far she's produced a lot of offense for the team, and this being such a early good start for the team, I feel like she's going to be a big goal producer, as we see here with 3 goals and 1 goal in the last game.
Yeah, and last season she had 20 goals. She's got 58 total in her career after this night, and here's her first one right there. She goes top left. Goalie is just, the puck's out of the net, but it clearly hit the back. And here's Brittany Howard again. Look at those moves in front.
An amazing backhand, and especially to elevate it over the shoulders of the goalie while she's not in the butterfly but half standing up.
It's great. And here we're going to get to see the last one. And I'd like to mention, JC Gebhard assisted all 6 of these goals. So that pass right there to Brittany Howard, where she got the hat trick, that was assisted by J.C. Gebhard. So deciding the 3 stars from this game is easy, as Brittany Howard and Amber Rene both had hat tricks, which means that if you went to the game, you probably don't still have your hat. And J.C. Gebhard may have been the most important of all, as she did have the 6 assists that I mentioned earlier. What a game, what a start for the women's hockey team.
And speaking of Brittany Howard, this past Saturday, as we just talked about, Brittany Howard became the leading point scorer in RMU women's hockey history. She has 138 points in her career at Robert Morris. She was redshirted her sophomore year due to an injury during the second game of the season. In her career so far, she has 58 goals, as you said earlier, and 58 goals netted and 80 assists in the game Saturday against the Minnesota State University Mavericks. Howard scored 3 goals and had 2 helpers on the night. After scoring a goal before the night before the Mavericks, Brittany Howard is the only two games into her redshirt senior year. So now we're going to jump from the ice onto the volleyball court. So last Friday, the Colonials took the court against the LIU Brooklyn for the first time this season. They went into the game Friday on a 4-game win streak. 3 of the past 4 wins came in NEC play. The women were hoping to extend the win streak to 5 against the Blackbirds. Now the first highlight we're going to see here is Ali Yurkovich with a very strong serve that overpowered the backcourt of LIU there and sent the ball backwards into the stands. Now we're going to jump into the second set, where we're going to see an amazing serve by the LIU Brooklyn. Robert Morris recovers greatly. They do a great bump and a great spike there. The LIU tries to block, but it will go out of bounds, putting RMU down only by 1. But now we're going to jump to this one, where we see LIU try to spike it. But no, the Robert Morris women's volleyball team recovered very well, and an amazing spike there, once again, by the freshman Emma Granger.
Incredible. She's been great this season.
Absolutely. And now we're going to jump into the third set, where we're going to see the Colonials spike it again, but this time LIU won't be able to recover quite the way they did the past couple times, and it'll hit the court. Well, now we're going to see a lob shot there, but we're going to see here Allison Londahl with an amazing spike. This is a game of spikes, David. That's all I can tell you. There's spikes everywhere. Spikes left, spikes right. And now we're going to jump into the fourth set, where we're going to see the Colonials that one will go back to the corner, out of camera shot, but it'll come back in, and the Colonials will spike it into the defense. Exactly. Except the only bad part is LIU spiked out of bounds, which is bad for LIU, but good for RMU. And now we're going to see Deja Tamlin with an amazing spike to the corner there. But despite the efforts of the Robert Morris Colonials, they fell short, and they had to play all 5 sets that game. Taylor Lord finished the match with 20 kills, 3 aces, and 2 blocks. Allison Londahl was in second place for Robert Morris in the match with 17 kills, 1 ace, and 3 blocks. So an outstanding game statistically for the Robert Morris Colonials. The very next day, the volleyball team faced St. Francis University Terriers after their loss against LIU Brooklyn. St. Francis came into the match with no wins and 4 losses so far in conference play, while Robert Morris has had 3 wins and 1 loss.
This was certainly not a game the Colonials should have lost. It was St. Francis Brooklyn's first win of NEC play this year. How did they lose? The answer is in the stats. 22 points were lost to error by the Colonials, and 17 of them came in the last 2 sets. St. Francis, in the same time, only lost 7 points to error. You can't win when you beat yourself. They now sit at 3-2 in conference play on the season. Tough loss for the Colonials, Greg.
Absolutely. But we're not done. When we come back, we're going to come back to us on the desk, and then we're going to send to Sam Anthony, who did a package with the head equipment manager of the Robert Morris football team, Ray Butter.
You're not going to want to miss that, so we'll see you after the break.
Everything starts out small. The things that hurt us, they all start from somewhere. The words we say, the things we do, they can grow into something else. What was small and innocent can become big and sometimes scary. All it takes is one comment, one picture, one video for something to catch fire. But a big problem doesn't need a big response. Not at first. Even if we don't know what to say, the eye emoji can be that first step we take. Let's all pledge to take that first small step together and change the world in a big way. I'm a witness. And so are you.
Oh, emojis! I thought the conversation just got dumber.
Ugh, internet trolls, just ignore them.
I like you just the way you are.
I believe in you!
She's a hugger. Give her a squeeze.
Help up the hand!
Ah, there you go.
Thanks, mate.
You're killing it, Jane!
Tonight, along the Texas Gulf Coast, utter devastation. Harvey barreled ashore overnight, packing 130-mile-an-hour winds, blinding sheets of rain, and a treacherous storm surge.
Harvey can't mess with Texas. So donate now to help make Texas whole again.
Hey, welcome back to another great episode of Colonial Sports Center. Now, before we do the upcoming games, we're going to jump to a piece about a man who's seen Robert Morris University football at its highs and at its lows. Ray Butter is the man that we are speaking of. Sam Anthony got the chance to sit down and talk to Ray.
Throughout the long history of Robert Morris football, there's one man who's been there longer than anyone. That man is head equipment manager Ray Butter.
I started here July 1997. I was actually friends with the guy who was the equipment manager here before me. He got hired by the Steelers. Somebody said, "Oh, you got to get Ray your job," and I was just working on campus part-time. And I said, "It's full-time. I can go back to school, get my degree." 21 years later, I'm still here.
Butter does all the little things that keep the team running.
The generic version is responsible for all the purchasing, issuing, retrieval, and laundry and repair of all the athletic equipment. Helmet breaks, somebody's shoulder pads, break a shoestring, something goes wrong with the coach's headsets, just any kind of equipment stuff that could go wrong during the game. That's what we're watching for. I mean, a lot's changed. I mean, as far as simple things like just helmets evolving to where they are now from what we had. We used to have air-filled helmets that was basically the protection. Now they're all, a lot more sophisticated. Equipment, shoulder pads, everybody wants to be smaller and sleeker. When I first started here, everybody wanted the biggest shoulder pads. I always laugh when we go down the hall because you'll see the guys from like 97, 98, and the safeties are as big as linemen with their shoulder pads.
The team's 5 straight NEC titles from 1996 to 2000 was something Butter said was truly special.
It was interesting. I mean, the team just had a swagger about them. Like they knew they were good, and we always played tough. We never disrespected any opponent, thinking that we couldn't be beat. But they just, they knew it. It was, it was a little bit different back then because, I mean, like I said, we were non-scholarship, so we were getting a lot of guys that came in with a chip in our shoulder that they thought they should have been somewhere with a scholarship, so they were out to prove something. And the coaches, used that at their advantage. And I mean, we had some really talented athletes.
Butter was able to share all of these moments with his greatest mentor, head coach Joe Walton.
When I first started, I was scared to death of Coach Walton. And by the time he left campus, I consider him a very close friend of mine. Coach he was a great mentor for me. He taught me a lot. Just not even just about the job, but about life. One of the things is like I could sit there and listen to Coach do game day speeches, post game speeches. I mean, he had a great way of just speaking to you, whether you were in the locker room or you're sitting there eating a sandwich with him at lunch. He taught you stuff off the field that you didn't realize you were learning until a year later, and you go, "Oh man, I remember we talked about that."
Throughout his time at Robert Morris, Butter said his greatest memory was when the team earned its first playoff berth back in 2010.
but the year we played up at North Dakota State in 2010 for the playoffs was a really cool, it was just a great moment in my career, because like we've never flown anywhere. That was the first time we've ever flown as a team somewhere. So we had to deal with all the logistical issues of that. And we had to do it in 4 days because we didn't even know who we were playing until Selection Sunday the week before. We were in that game up until the fourth quarter, and then, once, after the game, just being in the locker room, I was even emotional after I lost, and usually that's never happened to me, in a Rob Morse game, but, just to see, the guys that were so depressed after, and upset about losing that game and actually having the chance, so it kind of took over a little bit me too, but yeah, that's probably one of my fondest moments there too. So.
Another great touch is the team's win over Dayton this year for the first time in 17 years.
It felt great. And to see, Dayton's always been a thorn in our side. I remember the day we beat them last in 2000. I can remember the play that we beat them on down there. So for us to beat them again, it was great. It was great for the team. It was great for the coaching staff. And inside, I just had a little finally. We got that thorn out of our side, and we beat Dayton again. So it was pretty exciting.
You ask the man who's seen it all. This is the year the Colonials once again claim conference glory.
If you ask me, it's going to be this year. There's a swagger about the team right now that, has been missing the last couple of years. You can just tell in the guys, going back to something Coach Walton used to always say, the team starts in the locker room. And, this team there's not offense, there's not defense, there's a team in that locker room this year. And that's a huge thing, just seeing them progress through camp and stuff like that. So, everybody on this team has got everybody's back, and it's a good feeling. They just got a good vibe about them. I think we have a good chance at winning the conference this year.
The history of Robert Morris football has been a roller coaster. The only man that has been there through the good and the bad has been Ray Butter, who hopes this year will be another storied one in his career. This is Sam Anthony reporting for Colonial Sports Center.
That was a great piece done by Sam Anthony, and if you remember earlier in the year, he did one on the running back.
And now we're going to toss to the final commercial break of the show, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the upcoming games, and then we'll send you guys home for the night. Tune back.
Want to help in the aftermath of a hurricane? Together, you and I can really help. I am fast and versatile. I can be whatever is needed to help you provide important relief when it's most critical. If you want to lend a hand, I can help you reach out and truly touch lives. Even a small donation can make a big difference.
On November 3rd in Hopwood Auditorium, Robert Morris University, join me, Don Luisi, for Bringing the Blues to RMU. This is a live event featuring Pittsburgh's Queen of the Blues, Jill West, and Blues Attack. Along with a screening of Blues Chronicles from the Berg, 3 short documentary profiles of Pittsburgh Blues legends, Eugene Morgan, Bill Weiner, and Jill West. This tribute to the blues is sponsored by the Blues Society of Western Pennsylvania, the Academic Media Center, and RMU Radio. That's Bringing the Blues to RMU, Friday, November 3rd at 5 p.m., Hopwood Auditorium, Robert Morris University. Admission is free to the public.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
And next week you'll want to tune in to Colonial Sports Center to see how Robert Morris fares this weekend in their events.
And good night from here, all of us here at Colonial Sports Center, from me and David Szymanski. Good night.